Docking request accepted.
Good morning, New Eden. Today is September 29th, 2024, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. I am your host, Nightflyer, and with me today is Samson.
Good morning, New Eden. If I can finally blink. I've had my eyes open this entire time during the video. I couldn't stop watching it. I heard a great man made that music video.
A great man indeed.
Great, yeah. Oh, shit. Computer problems. Oh, today our very special guest is Frozen Fallout, and he is here with a very, very special announcement. Frozen?
Go. Good morning, New Eden, and I am excited to announce today that I am going to be running for the CSM, Council of Stellar Management position. I am a candidate, and I'm really looking forward to running on the campaign trail, seeing what kind of reaction that I get to the ideas that I want to kind of throw out there, and it's something brand new for me, something I haven't done before. So this is treading into new territories. But I wrote a book, so I put that out there, and finally
the dossier is out.
Well, so there's a reason why they're like it. To be honest, the top part is all that's really needed to be there.
Yeah.
Is just my introduction. Maybe a little bit more of introduction could have been put in there, and then what my platform is, which is basically what the top half page to maybe a page worth. It's really only about a half page of here's my platform, here's who I am. But then I go into here's a breakdown of exactly what I've been doing over the years. And I did that because I'd already been working on that project. So they wanted me to tell my story. And my story is long. It's, it goes back 20 years, right?
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the CSM stuff. We're going to cover that good. But before we do get into that, do you want us to tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, how did you get into Eve, and what's kind of the path that is Frozen Fallout?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we have done an episode on this before, and I have the huge, written out storyline kind of thing, but I'll kind of try and summarize it, and not even really summarize it.
Industry.
I'm just gonna off the cuff kind of tell a quick telling of my story, and so. Back in 2003 or so, I think it was early 2003, me and my buddies had been beta testing a bunch of different games like Neocron, and we played Earth and Beyond, we played a bunch of other beta games. Mainly we played beta because we were broke, and so this is stuff that's not even inside of the book. So, so insider information here, I was a broke teenager. And so $15 a month or whatever the fuck it was back then, and it's interesting how inflation has kind of happened, all other avenues. But how much it costs to play Final Fantasy now? Cheaper than it was before. Inflation in video games is supposed to go down, except for we play Eve, so Eve is what? Inflation happened. We think our game actually, instead of and that's a whole other thing. I think that was a mistake. I think that was actually a really big mistake on their part.
I just think it rolled out wrong, and we talked about that too. Because you said they were $15 a month forever for almost 18 years, and all of a sudden they're going to do a $5 bump. That's, you know, a 75% raise, and that's just crazy. Like, give me, you know, go up a dollar this year.
Well,
and then,
33%
you know, a dollar
raise,
next.
but yeah.
Well, math, you know.
Yeah. 195% raise. Jesus Christ. But yeah, no, it's so I started off, you know, we were checking out all these RPGs, you know, MMORPGs that we could play for free. We played a little bit of Ultima Online, but it was obviously in the death throes at that time. It did last for quite a bit longer, but it definitely was in the death throes back in that around that time. So we had kind of wanted to go find something that we could get on like the ground floor of. You know, we had like 5 or 6 of us or something like that, you know, we were our Dungeons and Dragons group and stuff like that. And so we found EVE Online. We kind of looked at it, and then we were like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't get it.
It's pretty, but yeah.
I don't understand how to even, because even back then, you didn't even get to undock and see tons of people undocking in shiny, cool ships. It's like you undocked and there was nobody. There was nothing, and you had a newbie ship, and they were like, "Welcome, go, do Eve things." And we're like, "What? What is Eve?
Yeah.
What do you mean?" Like, I got a gun and a miner. Okay, I guess I could go. There's like asteroid belts. I could go do that. I don't know. I shot some rocks, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, this is, you know, the promises were big, the idea was big, but it was like, there's just, you know, from a newbie point of view, there was no way to get from what you were hearing about what the game could be to actually playing the game on that level. And so we dropped out, and then in 2006 we picked up the game again. Well, 2005 we picked up the game, or my friends mostly picked up the game. I kind of dabbled with it for a little bit, but I was working a whole bunch. But in 2006 is when it really kicks off, when, you know, I pick up Frozen Fallout. I believe, if I remember correctly, the whole thing is that I had to make a new character, because they had released an update that made it so that you could get a bunch of skill points. So like before, I started with like 60,000 skill points, and the new characters that got created were like 800,000 skill points. So that like month of training time that I had on it didn't really matter at all. So I had to make a whole new character, and so I jump on, make brand new character, and I just get hooked, because I've got like a good amount of friends who have been playing, you know, this game for a few years, or for about a year that they had been playing, maybe even a little bit more than a year, almost like a year and a half that they had been playing, because it was like late November of 2006 when 2006 when I made Frozen Fallout. And so they'd been playing the game for a long time. They had scoped out Old Man Star, and they'd been living in Old Man Star for like ever. They, you know, they're just like, oh, you know, you got to be really careful. Like, you know, we jet can mine here, and then we, you know, build out of the station here. And, you know, they'd kind of like set themselves up. And I had just got into like, you know, running missions and doing the basic kind of stuff. But I was like, I got to level 3 missions, and I learned that if you run level 3 missions out of Lowsec, it's safer, or it's better paid, you know, just a little bit. It's a very minor amount, but it's like a, you know, a small pay bump that you get for doing. So I found this Lowsec system surrounded by high-sec, surrounded by Lowsec, called Hain. And I got everybody, because I was like, it's got the Lowsec mining, you know, ore that you guys are kind of looking for. And, you know, like, it's got stations that you can build stuff in, you can process here, you know, and it's got level 3 mission agents here. And we'll run level 3 missions out of this system. And we, like, Hain became home. Like, that was, and still is today. Like, I still go to Hain all the time. Coder hangs out in Hain all the time. You know, like, that's... it will always be the place that I'll go back to after I'm kind of done doing what I'm doing wherever I am in the galaxy, you know, for that time period. And throughout my time, we have, you know, I've gone out to, like, the next thing that we did was we went out to 0.0 with the Interstellar Alcoholic Conglomerate. And so, I was like, with the firing squad was the corporation, and I was like, these guys seem cool. They have no real requirements at all. All you have to do is just come out and, you know, get drunk and have fun, you know, and rat, and they'll just give us access to 0.0 with the 0.0 mining that you could do out here, and the ratting that we could do. Like, we get to shoot battleships and stuff, and I was getting to like level 4. It was like 3 months in, and I, you know, gotten to like level 4 missions, so I'd like kind of outgrown Hane to a certain degree. It was like, Hane is no longer needed because level 3 missions, I don't need to do those anymore, and the rats in Lowsec suck. The sites in Lowsec usually suck. So I ended up going to, you know, I was hearing all these like stories about 0.0 stuff too, and we kind of heard tales about 0.0 because there was like a Titan that blew up before I started, before I created Frozen Fallout. You know, the very first Titan to get blown up, and, you know, Bob, you know, going to war with everything, and the wars in the north and stuff, and, you know, people building empires, and we'd heard all these kind of like stories, and I kind of got like interested because I started getting into like reading the forums and, you know, kind of keeping up on, you know, the politics of what was kind of going on. So I joined up with Icy and Ketch, and we made our home in Fat. And I love that, the name of that system. I like put like secure cans in outer space in a system over, so I could do ratting and like pick up all of the loot and then drop it off in the secure canister, so I didn't have to go jump through a Stargate to get back and drop it off at a station. You know, and it was like because like I was a complete noob in this game. Like when I came into this game, my friends had been playing for about a year, but they had, you know, basically never got into like how to PvP or anything. Like one of the first things I remember was me, Coder, and Sominus going out. We got to a one of those like special complexes that used to exist back in the day that you could run in Lowsec in 0.0. And it was like this, like, you know, permanent mission in space that was like a complex that, you know, you didn't have to scan down or anything. You just warp to it and you'd run it, and at the end of it you could kill something and get like a box out of it. So it's like a little dungeon that always existed. You know, we played Ultima Online and stuff, so we were like, oh yeah, let's go run the dungeon, dude. Like, all right. So we get out to Lowsec, and we're running the dungeon, and a assault frigate comes in, and none of us have a point. None of us know how to PvP at all. And like, I get killed, Coder gets killed. I'm in like a thorax, and I couldn't hit the guy at all. Like like my guns are just missing, and I'm just like, why am I missing completely? Like, I don't understand what's happening here. You know, I get blown up. Coder is in like some kind of stealth bomber, I think, or something is what he was in, and he just gets like blown up like immediately. And then Sominus is in a rupture is what he was in, and he was able to hold the guy off to a stalemate, you know. But the problem is he could have killed him, but he didn't have a point, so he didn't know how to hold the guy down to stop him from warping off. So he'd warp off, go repair, come back in, and start fucking with him again. And like, he just kept on doing this over and over again until Sominus was just like, okay, I'm just sleeping now. Like, I can't beat the guy. So, you know, we were complete noobs. You know, when somebody shot me in Lowsec, I would be like, why? I don't understand. Like, what did I do to you to make you want to kill me? Like, can't we just live in peace. Like
Blood.
if I walk
For the
outside
blood god.
and somebody just starts shooting me, like I'm gonna be like, this is like weird, like this sucks, like this world, this universe is dangerous, it's scary, like but we're immortal, which makes it a little bit better, quite a bit actually. It's the one reason why I murder and pillage people all the time, because we're immortal actually. So I had this new mindset, and I didn't know what was kind of going on in the game, and but I just was like, I heard about this 0.0 group that would be just a bunch of drunkards that just want to have fun, and we went and hung out with the IAC. We got into the Great War, and that was really weird, like, because I didn't know exactly what was going on with that. Like, I had heard some tales, had read some things on the forums, but like I wasn't really an avid reader at that time. It was just one of those things I'd like poke at every once in a while, so I wasn't really up on like to snuff on the politics. But I remember the day that the IAC joined and started fighting McFix was like, we got told by one of our fleet commanders, he was like, okay, I'm doing this special fleet, we're gonna go to the back, the back of our empire, this like hidden pockets of area where you can still do ratting, and these are the areas that are like way away from the front lines, and this is where, if you're gonna do ratting, this is where you want to do ratting now. If you're living in Fat, you want to have all your combat ships all set up and ready, because Fat was like right next door to Quirius, and so it's like one of the main pipes from Quirius to Patch, and so my home just got set ablaze, and I remember just being like, oh my god. And there was like Outbreak would be in our backyard just like causing chaos by like setting up a gate camp with a bunch of like super carriers, and we were like, what the hell is like everything just got set on fire. But then we got into like just like, oh okay, well, like now it's time to get into fleets to go shoot stuff. I got blown up by a Titan. That was cool. Like seeing a Titan come onto grid, and I had I remember being in a Megatron, and I thought that I was Doomsday tanked, but I guess I wasn't Doomsday tanked. And because back in the day, they just did an area effect, and it just wiped out, it did like 1 million damage or whatever, or maybe it wasn't quite 1 million, it was maybe like 500,000 or something like that of damage that it would do in just one shot, or maybe a little bit less than that. But in any case, it was an insane amount that normally would wipe out a battleship worth. Like even tanked battleships would just get wiped out by this thing if it hit. And you never got to see those things. Like, it wasn't common at all to see Titans, flinging ships around. Like now it's just, everybody's seen a Titan. Not everybody, but a lot of people, especially in 0.0, see Titans because they fling you all over the place. But back when they were brand new, you didn't have them all over the place to just use to fling people around. That wasn't the way that you used that asset back then. You used it to blow up giant amount of fleets. And so we just, getting Doomsday to buy one was like, oh shit, like that's super cool. But really shitty. I can't believe that I just lost like a whole battleship, and I just got, we just got here. There was supposed to be a big fight that was supposed to happen, and now I've lost my battleship. So, but yeah, the IAC was a lot of fun, but everything was on fire, and after a while, Firing Squad moved on to like a smaller alliance. I believe that, if I remember correctly, it was still in like, we didn't have to leave the area. Not 100% on that, but State, how's it going? I'm running for CSM.
Bros and Fallout for CSM.
And I'm getting trashed and on my podcast, getting interviewed by my podcast. It's surreal. Like all of a sudden, I'm not running the podcast right now. I'm just a guest. a guest on my own podcast. It's so cool.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Well,
so
thank you.
Don't
Thank
get
you.
nervous.
Night Flyer,
It's
you're
okay to be
doing
nervous.
a great hosting. Love it. Samson,
So-
great co-hosting. Well done.
Yeah, we're talking about.
Hey,
So you're in the Great War, and then your alliance that your corp you're in like changed alliances, and
Yeah, changed alliances. I don't remember. I have like a faint memory of that happening. It was like in the middle of the war, not long after IAC kind of fell apart. It was like 6 months later, I think, that after we had left, that they had like completely shattered as an alliance. One thing though, real quick, was there was, I can't remember what his name was, but there was a dude who was in Interstellar Alcohol Conglomerate who would get trashed all the time, and he would fly a super carrier, a Nyx, a mothership back in the day, kids, using the old terminology. A mothership, the Nyx mothership, and he had it sitting outside a station for like 8 hours, where he passed out on his keyboard and just left his Nyx undocked outside of a station. So he had like a contingency of like 100 ships just sitting outside a station, watching him, waiting for him to like wake up and like protect him from any stupid little stuff that came. And for 8 hours he survived. Nothing came to murder him. It was very impressive.
Wait, so there was a standing fleet sitting there watching him while he was passed out drunk?
Yep. Couldn't do anything, you know, like nobody had his number or anybody. I think maybe somebody even tried calling him.
He just had to. And this happen often?
That was the one time that it was an 8 hour thing. He would just get big, but he would get trashed and do stupid shit. Like,
okay. Yeah, if it happened more than once, like I'd be like,
Yeah,
next time you
like-
do it, I said I'm putting a fleet together. We're shooting you.
We're gonna
Yeah,
you're gonna be on my
just
kill.
got on the kill. This is whore on the kill.
Throw away. So you left 0.0, and then at that point you went and started up your own corp or another production corp.
So Mecha Enterprises fleet was Mecha Enterprises group was the organization that that Coder had created. That was like our industry. It was like an industry non-PvP organization. And if I remember correctly, maybe I will use a. Oh man!
You're gonna have to go to your manifesto.
Yeah, let me go to my manifesto here and just see what. Because I don't know why I'm having like a. So before I look at it, what I think happened was I went from AC and we came home and we joined up with Purge. Right? Isn't that the next phase here? Let's take a look. We'll double check it here. So Hade is home, we go to the Great War, and then living in Outer Ring. Yep.
This is what we were dealing with earlier yesterday when we were working for your campaign. He can't even find his own shit in his own story because it's so goddamn long. It's like 10 pages. It has got actually no. I'll tell you right now. It says like 5 on the CSM forum. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's 5 posts. Pretty sure.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say this pages.
That's 5 pages at least.
That's 5 pages.
It is like 5 pages actually in a Word document.
Nah, I think in a Word doc it's like 3.
No,
it's like 15
10?
pages.
20.
Double spaced.
30.
Single spaced 8-point font.
But
that is to say, it's a very long story.
it is well.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so the thing is, though,
It's a very short.
there
long
is
story.
a breaker in there, and it is not a lot if you're just looking at if you just go all the way through to my platform. There's no reason that if you're not interested in me by reading my platform and you don't want to read my story, that makes sense. But if you want to hear the full story, I got it for you. You know,
It's there.
It's there. No one else has it.
No, nobody else is breaking down their story like I've broken down
we're
my
trying to.
story.
Frozen is breaking ground here. He's he's starting a new trend, I think.
Yeah.
No,
with
It's not
CSM.
creating
Like
your
I
own
said at the
story.
beginning-
He literally created his own story.
Well,
Put it
yeah.
out there.
I mean, well, that was the thing, is that I was already doing, like I said at the beginning, I was already doing this. You know, I had already done most of the legwork of everything that was
You
here.
lived it.
I lived it, but I had also already had a document that was filled up with a bunch of my stuff that I did.
That's how much of a nerd this guy is. Okay, I'm just telling you right now. He already had his story written before running for CSM. So
I'm so much of a nerd is that I posted it on the wiki back when there was an official Eve wiki.
yes.
I'm a
So
nerd.
I mean, it's
I'm a nerd.
definitely this is definitely a pot calling the kettle black situation, but I'm here to tell you that Frozen Fallout is the most passionate person about EVE Online that I've ever met in my entire life, and I've met a lot of fucking nerds that play EVE. Most of the time, I shoot them in the face in game, blow up their ships, and if there's one thing that I've noticed about everybody that I've met is that Frozen, out of all those people, is the most passionate about EVE itself, its lore, its backstory, its community, and just you care so much about the community and how the game works and how it should work. Like I'm just happy when I get in that I can shoot somebody. You know, when I hop into space, if I can't shoot somebody, then I start to get annoyed. You know me. Samson angry,
Yeah.
went angry, nothing to shoot, fire.
Frozen Fallout killed me again.
Ah.
We've been in fleet for 20 minutes. You usually get to kill
killed.
something, before you
Yes.
die, but you're gonna die.
But
You're
but
gonna
like,
die.
but that's what I'm saying. That's like the serious, the nerd stuff. What is CSM about? It's about the community. It's about making the game and the community better. It's about all those things. And I don't know. You joke about this is not a real thing and it's not actually going to happen. I'll be really super surprised if I become CSM. But I'm here to tell you right now that you're probably going to become CSM in CSM 19. It's probably going to happen because you're such a unique candidate. You're such a unique candidate, and you actually do care about the game and making it better, and you care about the people. And I think that's what's so crazy about it, because as your campaign manager, I'm not sure if my goal is to not make you win or to make you win, but I think it's inevitable because ineffable because you're the perfect candidate for this. Like I all the shit you wrote, all the shit Chat GPT wrote, which is amazing. That stuff too. Separate.
Oh my god, yeah, we
That's
have
conversation about. Oh my god, it's funny shit.
I was like, oh, this is looking good. Let me just put it into ChatGPT and say, make this propaganda. No,
But,
more
like,
propaganda. No, I want Starship Trooper level propaganda, and it was just like
I'm doing my part.
This crazy shit, man. It even had I'm doing my part in it.
So, but seriously though, like to be serious, is that before, I just wanted to make sure I got that out before we got any further, because like I was taking a shower earlier and I was like, I should write a speech, and I was like, I ain't got fucking time for that. And then I was like, but then I really thought about it, and I was like, well, what is the biggest thing? It's not written like in any of these things, and if you actually read it, you'll understand. You're just the most passionate person about EVE that I've ever met.
That's crazy. That's awesome. Well, and that includes.
I don't know if that's an
FanFest.
insult or a compliment.
A little bit of an insult, but
it's a little bit of both.
I'll take it as a compliment.
But I think that's why you'll win.
I think I've met some people that might be a little bit more passionate than I am about Eve.
Yes, but that's you. I'm just talking about me. Like
that's
maybe
me.
those
I'm just
people
saying.
existed. Maybe those people existed, you know. But like, and I was there when you met them. But I didn't meet them because their speech was just going over my head. You're at least able to communicate to us grunts on the front line that just want to blow things up. The importance of the stuff behind the game, the meaning behind the game.
Well, thank you very much. And yeah, I mean, I hope so, because I mean, I like you said, I do have a very strong passion for this game, and I've been playing it for so long.
Areola.
Me,
21 years playing Eve. He wasn't looking at the chat. He thought I was just talking about titties. Look.
His eyes.
See, the grunts. The grunts. Me and Night Flyer versus which side am I on here? You're on this side. Our brave leader, our brave and almighty powerful leader, Frozen Fallout.
Well, thank you. Yes, no, and I mean, yeah, I would say 17 years is what I would really say that I've been playing this game. But it's interesting to have kind of known about it since the very beginning and watched this game kind of build up. Whoa!
It's Harry Hole. Okay.
Harry Hole. Got it.
I see. Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Harry Areola.
Here goes chat. Chat's gonna blow. All right. So back to the Q&A. So Frozen, why join CSM? Why now?
So real quick, just before that, if you want to read more and learn more about all the crazy shit that I've done,
don't do that.
Go check out the Bible that I created.
Good, go read it. No, it's a good read. It's a good read.
It's a fun read. I mean, if you like reading about lore, you like reading about Eve stories. It's yeah. Like I said, I read it a couple of times and it's interesting.
Yeah, but you had to.
Yeah, I kind of did.
Of course, all my buddies would be like, "You have to."
I think my contribution to the whole thing were the commas. Like, you got to put a comma here.
Yeah, I think I added I added a semicolon. I think. I don't know if it's still there, but I could check. It was like a
I think we got.
There was a run-on sentence, and it really needed a semicolon.
But yeah, in any case, why join CSM? Why try and run for it? And for me, it's because I want to, because I am passionate about the game, and I think I have, an interesting point of view on this game, that I've interacted a lot with leadership. I've been out to 0.0. I've, dealt with some of the most powerful organizations in this game. I infiltrated the enemy Galente so that I can learn the secrets and bring them back to the Galente. So I've been able to see Eve from a lot of different point of views, all the way from being, of course, and a lot of us have this, as being the high-tech grunt of a small group of friends, that wanted to try and make their mark on Eve, to becoming.
I was a fucking loner.
And I mean, there's a lot of loner, and I've done a lot of loner because we were a small group of people. We didn't, we weren't organized. We weren't doing fleets really. Everybody was really just doing their own thing in the corporation. So it wasn't really being a loner that just had a bunch of friends that also played the game. And sometimes we would do stuff together. Talking trash.
That's Mortal Kombat wants to know what's up.
Mortal, howdy.
Or comeback, sorry.
Combat.
Not comeback.
Combat.
I'm like the one that's
Mortal Kombat.
But so I have a passion about Eve. I love Eve. I've been playing this game for a long time. I'm also not a bitter vet. I think it's a great game still. I think that there's massive amount of improvements that have been made to the game that needed to be there. The new player experience is 10 times better than what it was before. It needs to be 10 times better than what it is right now. And
where have you been, mortal? Come back. We've been here. Frozen's running for CSM.
Yeah.
Probably playing Warhammer.
Yeah.
The rest of those nerds.
Space Marine.
But yeah, so and I also I find it interesting. I think this is I've always personally in my personal life have a lot of, which I'm not going to get deep into or really talk about, but like I have a lot of interest in politics in my own life, and I've dealt with politics quite a bit in my life. So to be able to get involved in an EVE Online popular vote, election system is kind of cool just to be part of. Voting starts on the 17th of October.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a forum post.
Just weird. This is. It seems like a really short campaign window because we're like.
It is very
talk
short.
about interviews. Yeah, it's like.
It's
2
also
weeks.
up on our website, which has been recently revamped as well.
It's 2 weeks,
website,
of which
man.
half
Really
is
good,
during
really good.
Eve Fest or Vegas, Eve Vegas. So we're missing half of the campaign season because we're going to be in Vegas with the rest.
We're not
of
missing it. We're going to be campaigning hard in Vegas. What are you talking about? I'm gonna get that shit tattooed on my forehead. Frozen Fallout for CMS.
CMS, that's right. Well, Frozen, you've been all over the game, as we've been talking about. You started up your own corp several times, and alliances. You've been in Goon Swarm for, was it 5 to 7 years?
7
like
years.
So
about,
you've been out in
about
0.0.
if you take out my breaks.
You've done industry. You still do industry. So you've been around the game. You've seen a lot. I know I've relied on that as a new player, less than 5 years. So
new play. I like how can you imagine somebody's like, I've been playing Halo for the last 5 years. I'm new.
Well, yeah. Well, Airhole's been playing 21 years. So
right.
And then you've been playing like 19. Sam's been playing
4, 2, 3.
I would say I'm more around almost 18.
I didn't
19.
I didn't
yeah, it's hard to.
I think I played actual gameplay like 4 years, if you even count the previous stuff.
Yeah,
well, if you take out my breaks, I might have had like a break here and there that was quite a bit. So maybe I'm down to like 15. 16.
I'm still mature during that time,
Anyways.
but. So I guess the big question here, what I really want to get into the meat and potatoes here, is CSM is a player-supported and created by our votes focus group. It's a focus group for CCP for the purpose of them to present their ideas and then be able to gauge player feedback of current and future game mechanics. However, according to CSM members like Alexa Vicard and Brisk Raval and those guys that we have spoken to, usually on day one when they pull you guys in for the meeting, they ask you, like, what are your ideas for the game? So, I mean, your big focus, of course, is beyond the love of the game, is faction warfare, the Lowsec mechanics, small group PvP. So, let's just start with the first part. What changes would you like to see, or would you suggest to CCP in regards to faction warfare?
So faction warfare, I think, doesn't need a massive overhaul anymore. Faction warfare got its massive overhaul, and I'm really happy to see the massive overhaul of faction warfare. The first thing I would say is that faction warfare just needs a lot of minor tweaks right now. And I'm going to focus on first just the base of faction warfare, which is like the Keldari Galente conflict, the Mimitar Amar conflict, kind of, and how their mechanics are kind of set up. There's just a lot of really quick things that could be easily done today that could help and bring a little bit more revitalization to faction warfare. And first of all, that is getting rid of the concept of offense and defensive plexing. It should be very similar to the way the insurgency plexes work. There's 2 rats in it, one that's a buddy, one that's an enemy, or multiple that are a friend and multiple that are an enemy, or however you do it. But right now we do 1-on-1 normally. Sometimes 2 spawn, I think, like glitching-ish. But, or maybe it's meant to be. Anyways, so those 2 start fighting each other, right? And you come in, and once you've killed one, then the timer starts clicking down. And it's just an offensive plex. Everybody, it's just always a plex. It's just a plex. And if you're in the front line, you get, the bonus payout. If it's in the command center, you get the normal payout. And if it's in a back line, you get almost nothing. You get like 1 loyalty point or whatever, just to say that, yep, you got it. There is, so Air says here that they need a tutorial so that people can learn how, where, when to do it, and that is the first thing that they need to do. But yeah, no, I hear exactly what you're saying. That is actually something that I point out in my forum post, that I think is something that is really needed, and that goes into, the new player experience is where I kind of bring that in, is that tutorials for new players need to be more expansive. They need to teach them how to run their D-scan. Samson, I gotta hydrate and do a battle royale. Battle royale.
And 10 push-ups.
And 10. No. Oh, damn! I
5
should have.
burpees.
I should have a really good point value spent on. Oh, I'm gonna. Ooh, damn it! I'm not gonna do it right now.
Write that down.
I was like, I'm just gonna do it right
really
now.
Yes,
that's
right
a good.
now.
That's
Do
a
it.
great idea.
Huge.
Huge, the best. That's it. But in any case, so as I was saying though, is that so changes to faction warfare. So first of all, do that plexing. The big one is definitely do it to fucking battlefields right now. There should not be an offense and defensive battlefield. If you want Caldari and Galente to clash with each other, make it so that the LP payout is good for doing a defensive battlefield. Like, if you just have it the same payout as if it was an offensive, there's no difference between the two. There's zero difference between an offense and how to run an offense or how to run a defense. It's just, it's possible that you'll get unbelievably shitty payout if the defensive plex is in something that is like a 1% system. I don't understand why in any way, shape, or form that was implemented that way. I think that's a quick, super quick, easy fix. Some other fixes that are not necessarily super easy, but not necessarily restricted to faction warfare, and it goes into insurgency and goes to all the other things. We need a faction, a loyalty point store revamp. Just period. Mm-hmm. That needs to be the number one item at this point. First of all, we need to have a tutorial on how to use loyalty point stores, but you should make that after you revamp and completely redo what loyalty points can be spent on and how that transactional system works. Because this system that we have right now for loyalty points sucks.
We made a little bit of money when things first came out, like when like the first new Titans came out, and that's about it. Now it's like I'm not even bothering.
The new dreadnoughts, yeah.
Sorry, dreadnoughts, dreads, not Titans.
Well, but I mean, I can still sell those, and you're able to make money off of it. But the problem is that a new player opens it up, and I as an expert, I can make some money. Anywhere between 700 and yeah, I do. When I turn, because I build all of my E&Is. I've built like hundreds of E&Is in Hades. I've flown and lost, almost 100, E&Is in the area. So I'm able to convert that into usable income for me. I'm able to make faction ammo and stuff like that. I kind of understand what to throw my money at and how to have like an industrial operation in Lowsec going. So but I've been playing this game for an insane amount of time. I know that as a newbie, you walk in and you're just like, I have no idea what to do here. And, you know, there are some quick, easy things to just tell somebody of like, oh, if you just want some quick, easy cash, just sell a Dreadnought BPC for like 700 million ISK. And yeah, you only get 500 million ISK out of that, but immediately you get an immediate cash in on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want, you can do some blueprints, or you can go to an LP broker, and brokers, now that brokers exist in the game, there is an interesting aspect of that with the LP broker system. I think they should have a much better LP broker system if that's what they're going to use.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, you can.
LP broker.
Yeah, you can give LP to a corporation now, but the ledger is not really there. There is no way of being like, I'm going to give you some LP, and you're definitely going to give me back this amount. But it's not, you know, if I trade somebody 1 million LP and they're you know, well-known, you know, trader of LP, and they screw me over, that's not that much money to me in the end, and to them that's a ruining of their reputation. But if I'd hand over 17 million LP worth, you know, maybe around 13 billion ISK worth, or well over 10 billion, like, I'm not gonna, even if you're a well-known person, I'm not gonna trust you with that much. But if you just trade it over in small sums, you can definitely get. But it's not a well. There's no good documentation or anything there.
Yeah.
So
it's rough. And I'm just going to get on my soapbox for a second. We talked about this a dozen times, but I do not understand why the Caldari LP store has hybrid ammo and missiles.
yes,
The Lente LP store is the only one that does. I mean, we can't produce something that nobody else can produce.
give us all the
Amar
drones.
has
if
lasers.
If you're gonna do
Amar
that
has
to
the
us,
laser crystals. Mimitar has a projectile ammo, and Caldari has both hybrid and missiles. Well, why don't we have missiles?
maybe
they have 4 ships that use missiles. How come we can't produce missiles too?
So, Drunken Josh idea here is, why don't we get all the drones? Take the drones out of everybody else's LP store.
All the drones.
And we get all the drones. It's only out of our LP store. But even that, the drones aren't that
I
great.
just look for something that's kind of fair and balanced.
Yeah,
So,
well, they should, yes, we should, if there's no, especially if there's no difference in our ammo, like if Galente ammo did more damage, that might be interesting. And then Caldari,
better range or more damage or something like that. Even
better range for the Caldari, because they're all about that.
Yeah.
And then Galente just
damage.
get more damage, yeah. And so it should be, like less damage than what it currently is, and a little bit more range, or quite a bit more damage. Not quite a bit, but a decent bump, like a 10% bump in damage from what it currently is. So there's like a 20% deviation in damage, but there is a nice like 10% increase to like range on their ammo. I think there are some dynamic things that they could do that with that, but yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's the LP stores are way out of whack right now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can
But all
obviously
things
see
combined,
it.
there's no reason to join. I mean, if you're joining for LP, there's no reason to join Galente when Caldari you can get all the same exact stuff out of the LP store and more.
Well, you can't get the ENI. You can't get,
okay.
But
Which is one of
But you can get the Osprey. You can get,
yeah, but what you can get
ships.
But one of the
Osprey
biggest things
sucks,
that's
though.
kind of fucked up is, in my regard, as to why this is so weird and wrong, is that, okay, so if you have 3 times as many farmers on your side, that means that you're farming, a lot more, maybe not 3 times, maybe just 2 times, or, 80% more or something like that, but a sizable, unbelievable, amount more than what we're making, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're making an insane amount of LP, but your LP store is not going down. There's a reason for that. Your LP store is that much better than our LP store. It's so much better that even though it's being flooded with way more and more of those items are flooding into the market, that the demand is so high for those items that the supply is still above what the Galente low supply, but we have low demand because our items are not as high in demand. So it comes out to our items being about the same price. Like, even with the E&I having the massive amount of demand that it has, and use and destruction that it gets, it still is about the same price, if not cheaper, than an Osprey Navy issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how is that possible? But there's other things that come into that, because everybody's building the supply of E&Is is insanely high because everybody's building those things, and our Moro sucks. Like, everybody wants a PNI, so a massive amount of LP can be spent on PNIs all day long because everybody wants a PNI. Every single player in the game should have a Phoenix Navy issue. Like, because it's one of the greatest ships in the game for small gang solo PvP. Like, if you want to go out and fight 50 nerds, drop in, spend 5 minutes killing nerds, and then get the fuck out. If you're, hopefully by then the big boys haven't found
drops
you.
on you.
Yeah, if you get found out, stuff like that, you gotta be quick about that shit. But you can set it up with Spectre Fleet and stuff like that also, where you can come out and have some fun, and you'll probably still lose it, but you can probably get a bunch of kills. The P&I is just awesome. The Moros Navy issue just doesn't have a real use, and therefore it's not getting destroyed, and there isn't a huge demand for it. It's got some nice bonuses. The extra, I believe, point and web range, maybe just point range. The point range is kind of cool on it, I think, though. But yeah, the LP store needs to be revamped. That's a huge thing. I think that it's not just for faction warfare, though. It's just in general. Nobody knows what to do really well with their LP points, and it's such a side
mine's just
thing.
sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny how many people, like, when we're in fleet, will have millions, tens of millions of LP. They're just like, what am I going to spend it on? I'm like, well, that's sad. I mean, that's kind of a sad state. Right. It shouldn't be like that. Like, you should really be looking forward to the fact, like, oh, I've got X amount of LP. I can finally go get all this.
Right. Yeah. It should be easy to get a bunch of the stuff that we will use all the time, and it should be affordable.
Stuff that's readily, that's needed on the market. Even like data cores and stuff like that. You would think, all right, well, that'd be like easy money, but that's a slog. I've done that too. You can sell data cores all the time, but if everybody does that, if I take my 100 million LP, buy data cores and dump them on the Vegeta market, it'll crash. It'll destroy it. So nobody does it.
Yep.
No, and then you're making dollars on the cent, or cents on the dollar.
It really needs to be reevaluated. The other big thing, though, that I think this is going to take more time and effort to really understand, but owning space needs to mean something. Right now, I mean,
the faction warfare standpoint?
Or for faction warfare, for a change to faction warfare, is that owning space needs to matter. And I don't know what the exact solution for that. I know that there needs to be an open discussion that needs to be had, that needs to be really focused on how do we make owning space matter in faction warfare without screwing up the system of you just go to the winning side then. Because if the Kaldari really wanted to, they could own all of the war zone, and if it really gave them a boost to the amount of LP that they could put out and stuff like that, like the old system was, there would be no reason to, besides and then there is the whole back and forth thing, that there's the pendulum of it is what it would happen before, which is that you flood the market with a whole bunch of LP from the Caldari, so you let the Caldari, so the farmers go over and focus really hard on working for the Caldari, and then when the LP is shit and it's not worth anything anymore, go make a whole bunch of Galente LP, and then let that price come back to something that's worth it to sell for your LP on the Caldari, buy up a whole bunch, get a whole bunch of Galente, kill Galente's LP per item, and then just go back and forth like that until forever, because the idea, so that's the reason why, if you look at the history of faction warfare, it's like the Galente owned everything, the Caldari owned everything, the Galente owned everything, the Caldari owned everything. Like, it was maybe a few systems here and there, especially when they booted you out of a system if you didn't have ownership to it. And that was one step that they did take, that was like, you have to own a system, or it needs to be on a front line in order for you to dock in a station. And they even took out citadels, which was a huge thing, because that's how you circumvented that back in the day, by having citadels. But not too long ago, they released it that it was like, yes, this even affects tether and citadels. You can't dock in systems that you don't own. That made a little bit. So the thing is, though, is that you can't kick me out of Haid. Haid's always going to be a frontline system for the Galente, even if the Caldari own it and they own everything around it. It won't always be a frontline for the Caldari, but it will always be a frontline for the Galente, and so you can't kick me out of Haid. And that's where I live, so I don't need to worry about getting kicked out. If somebody wants to live in Nanamelia, though, they do need to worry about getting kicked out, and that does generate a lot of, and that's where a lot of fights are happening right now, is Nanamelia, because they need to keep that system, and we want to kick them out of that system. So there needs to be something that is on like another layer that's similar to that, getting kicked out of, but not just because you're winning the war means that you should win more. It should be, if because you own space, you can maybe cultivate that space a little bit for the Caldari, and have, like stuff like
maybe a space hook or something. So similar to that mechanic.
That might be interesting, but some,
right.
like some
if
kind
you,
of
if you had
some
X
kind
amount
of
system, you could make it a better system. We could like increase ratting, or you could increase mining or something.
Like, yeah, similar to the iHub of 0.0, I think would be kind of interesting. Now the thing is that my immediate reaction to that is, well, then the Galente will just go over and start using that. But if you can't dock and it's in the backline systems, it's much more unlikely for the Galente to want to try and even get access to that shit. And maybe the more space that you own, the better that stuff is to a certain degree. I think there's a lot of play that I think that people could have a lot of discussion about this, though. And that it's not something that I would say that I have an immediate, like I know what the solution is, because I don't. And I don't have an immediate understanding of what would be the best way to do it. But I know that if you throw a bunch of people together, we might be able to come up with something that would be healthy. And there just needs to be a lot of actual discussion and talk about it, serious discussion at the top levels, talking about what can we do to make owning space matter. In the long run, I don't know how, like, that doesn't, it's not something that's like, if you don't implement that now, it's ruining the game. Because I think faction warfare is fine. The battle lines have been drawn, and it's we have our pockets that we've owned and we will own. We've had them lose them for a little bit, but basically the Galente own, the systems in the south that are very close to our borders. We own everything around that and up to Hades. We're always fighting in Abood and Fliet. There's, the battle lines of OICX and Nanamelia. Those have all been drawn and been there. Vivalier is always going to be a capital of the Galente for to a certain degree, and that's one that needs to be fought over, which is kind of cool. I do like living in Hades because I don't need to worry about getting kicked out. Like that's just very, very cool.
That is very cool. I think a while ago, especially in the noir days when I had like my Le Shack in Villarreal and then we lost it, and I'm like, I've got $1 billion ship sitting in a hangar I can't get to. That sucked. So
Yeah,
definitely would have appreciated having a frontline system at that point. So,
but
that was nice.
I think that to be honest though is that I don't think that I am campaigning as a Galentian, and that I have a lot of understanding of faction warfare, but I don't think that faction warfare has had a lot of love, and now it needs some minor tweaking. I would say that the LP store is a much bigger thing than just faction warfare, but it is vital to the health of faction warfare. The one thing that they haven't really done that needs to have an overhaul that is not contained to just faction warfare is the LP store, and that it would greatly help faction warfare if they did that. But in general, I think just minor tweaks and stuff like that. I think my faction warfare experience goes more into how I think that we should be boosting up and revitalizing Lowsec. Lowsec needs to be filled with a whole bunch of cool stuff. Stuff that cannot be found anywhere.
It should be that middle ground between high sec and nullsec. Like, everybody should have to come here for their, it should be the Night City, center of,
right. It should be where everybody wants to go, but they don't want to live. Like if you want to live somewhere, 0.0 should be where they have a bunch of big ass ships that they fly around their nixes, and they have dreadnought content and 0.0 content of building up your empire and increasing signals and having cool hacking stuff to a certain degree. I think Lowsec should have that, but I think that Lowsec should have anything that deals with like a frigate, a destroyer, a cruiser. These should be like Lowsec exclusive, really valuable sites that need to be done in cruisers that put you out in frigates, destroyers, and cruisers, and put you into a position of possible PvP, and where the idea that you could still just come in, sneak in, get you what you want, and then get the hell out. Like the idea that there should be a bustle of activity happening in Lowsec all the time, of people from 0.0 and of high sec coming in, grabbing treasure, and trying to get the fuck out. Like that. This is because high sec, unless there's ganking and stuff like that. To me, high sec is the most dangerous space because I'm a pirate, right? And this is something that I really do think that you got to be careful, because you're gonna have entities like Snuff who might just like dominate that content, right? Like, because it's kind of like the idea of there's a bunch of content out in Potch, right? But it's just completely and utterly dominated by a group of people, and they're the only ones that do it. They get the 30-man marauder fleets together, and they're unstoppable unless you can bring like something very specific to countering them or whatever. But what did Air say here? Well, I'm going to attempt to finish putting my gaming chair up with the wife killing for talking all room up.
Yeah,
sounds like wife aggro and typos.
So I think he's trying to get some space of his own, and like many household space is sometimes limited, and to make a gaming center.
I got really lucky with being able to make my man cave.
Oh yeah, that's what I got here. But I had to send 2 kids to college to get this. So that's what this cost me. So
yeah.
put things in perspective. That's how I got this room. So
but yeah, so you want to make sure that it's content that is not just dominable, it being able to be dominated by the local group that already owns the area. But the other thing is that Lowsec is huge. Like, there's a lot of Lowsec, and if Snuff is holding down this area over here, then maybe there should be looking into areas that it's not so much. The other thing is that they're not so much, if it's not like, you don't need to make it insanely good payout, better than anywhere else. You just need to make it good, and you need to make it so that you can't drop sinos in it. And then Snuff is much more likely to be like, oh, I don't want to play in that. I can't drop my sino. Like, because we don't really, unless you're gating and you're gate camping, Snuff is not a problem. I never feel like, I'm worried about Snuff when I'm inside of a Plex, because they can't drop their shit. So even in an open, they're not.
Scorpion chair. Okay. Yeah, my wife would have a shit if I put in a scorpion chair. All right. Good luck, Gary. With that, I can't help you. But shit, I forgot what you just said. Sorry.
So just talking about, like, I think, like, moving on from faction warfare, I think that Lowsec needs a lot of love right now, and that's one of my big things is that we do know CCP has already said that the roadmap right now is their focus is on nullsec. Obviously, with the change in how they are working in Lowsec, we know the next year that is their focus. Also, they've started implementing the skyhooks in the way that you have sovereignty in space, and of course, a large percentage of nullsecers are screaming, "This is the end of Eve as we know it. Like, that's it. This game's dead." And I think all of us know it's not the end. It's just another mechanic. You guys will, they'll figure out how to min-max it in a week. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. But I guess that's where we're kind of putting that out there. What as a CSM candidate, do you foresee any issues in nullsec that we as Lowsec should be concerned with, or at least open to, one way or the other? Well, okay, so I think that, first of all, I'm just going to jump right in there and just talk about skyhooks right now.
Oh, yeah, please.
Because, what the fuck? CCP, are you kidding? Samson, I don't know if you know this. Yeah,
real quick, Samson, if you want to just let people know what's...
So, it's doing skyhooks.
So Skyhook is something that is rateable right now. Whoa, we just lost our host. He's gone. He said,
"We'll be back.
I'm out." Anyways,
hello.
Right. So Skyhooks are basically a customs office in space that sits above a planet, pulls resources from it. Right. These resources get collected inside of a silo. That silo is something that is currently, right now, but I believe in just a few days here that it will be changing, is that you can shoot it, bring down its shields, steal from it. After 10 minutes it'll pop out a can, and you can get anywhere between like 7 million or I think 2 billion is the most that I've seen come out of one can. And so there's this interesting kind of like almost Grand Theft Auto type kind of like bank heist that kind of goes on. Now there is there's already ESSs, which is another kind of bank heist kind of mechanic. And so that's as people are ratting and stuff like that, money builds up inside of a bank, inside of a system. You can go and then extract some of that money, or that money from that bank, but it's got to have like active people in it. So this is about like a structure that doesn't necessarily have active people inside of it. And so it's not dependent on people already, filling it up with a bunch of money by doing this activity. It just passively builds up this, ice or gas is magma gas that you can get from it. Right now you can just go do it, and I think that it favors the theft way too much. Like, I do agree with that there, I see what you're saying. Like, I could just grab my filament, go out at 2 a.m. 3 a.m. my time, it's like 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning Eve time, and I'm able to go out and just steal, just jump from one system to, because it takes 10 just to get somebody organized, your fleet organized to go fuck with me is going to take you about 10 minutes for you to organize and then get to me. So maybe you stop me at the very last moment from catching and getting what I want, and then I get the fuck out, or I get it just as you come and try and catch me, or you haven't even got to me yet, and that's most of the time you haven't even got to me yet. I just go safe up and then filament out, and then I just do that every day and just make insane amount of money. Like, most of my runs, my late night runs, were coming back with over $1 billion, well over $1 billion ISK worth of stuff for the night. And so I would spend 3 to 4 hours doing this, and I would get, a lot of the times like 3 to 4 billion ISK. like that was the crazy part, was just seeing that, okay, I can actually come out with this and get like 4 billion for a 4-hour activity. That's $1 billion an hour. That's worth it, like way worth it, especially since it's a lot of the times there's like added cost times. I'm talking like really like 4 hours. I'm including all the filament time and all that time, getting the items back to Jeddah and selling it. Like, it's like 4 hours of me getting there is some prep stuff that I've already done a whole bunch of, making sure that I have all the items and everything that I need to just go out and do this continuously. So you might add in like 5 or 10 minutes based upon how much it took me to do all that, but that's minuscule. So we're talking like, out of all the times that I've done this, it just is like you have like it can really only take you like an hour or two to go do this, and you might make in an hour or two. The thing is, the longer you go, the more likely you're going to hit that jackpot of the big amount of like, oh, this one hasn't been hit by anybody, but you do that just Russian roulette of the filaments, and you're able to get all over the place. Like, as soon as somebody starts chasing you, you're on the other side of the galaxy now. So the attacker has a huge advantage, and I give them that. But making it a 3 hour or 1 hour window every 3 days,
it's crazy. That
guarantees that they're going to be, because even if you have, let's say, 100 of these that you need to defend, right? That just means throughout the day you time them all to be around the same time. You set up a bunch of scouts that just have sinos and stuff like that spread out throughout your area, 1 hour every 3 days, and you drop your entire super capital fleet. This is your super capital fleet's fun time, actually. Like, okay, we'll just this 1 hour every 3 days that we dedicate our alliance to just being ready to jump on any of these things. There might be some variance there to a certain degree, where you have to spend like 3 or 4 hours gathered up or whatever.
Yeah, that 1 hour window is it's flexible. I can't remember the actual time.
It is supposed to be
3 hours or 6 hours or something like that from the
it's
time
supposed to be pretty fairly substantial, the variance from what I thought I saw. But yeah, that guarantees that the only thing that I can do in order to counter this is have a counter drop ready, or do a lot of research, infiltrate the organization with a spy, find out which ones they're not watching. We could do like legwork of,
sounds like a lot of work,
of months, of trying to like gather enough information to be like, okay, this is the one that we can hit without getting dropped on by everybody. That's fucked up. First of all, I would say, like, first thing that I would say is that I would be perfectly fine with a complete reversion. go right back to the way that it was. I want to be told why was it bad the way that it was right now? How hard are these people hurting from us doing this? Because people are like, oh, but we got to make sure that you can pay off having it. It's like almost $1 billion ISK or whatever in order to put this thing up. And I'm like, yeah, but I just stole 2 billion ISK from it. Like, you can, like if it had, and that's something that maybe hasn't been sold from in 3 days. If this thing generates 3 billion ISK worth of items in 3 days, then obviously it's fucking worth it then, right? Like, you're getting your payment back, so stop bitching about the thefts. Like,
I just think it's a nullsec or whiny thing. Maybe.
Well, that's the thing, is that I didn't hear anybody. I haven't heard massive outcries from nullsec regarding this. I've heard a lot of people having like that. It sucks that it can be done and that they're taking this stuff from us, but not the repercussions of we can't fuel this. Like, this is hurting our economy and we can't pay for these items, these skyhooks to put them up. It's not worth it. Are you fucking kidding me? Obviously it's fucking worth it. If you can get 3 days worth of minerals out of this thing worth 3 billion and you can steal from yourself, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm not even getting the full fucking payout with theft. If you can get it to last 3 days, like,
you heard it here first. Frozen Fallout for CSM says, shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up, man. Fuck you and your.
Well,
no, worth it. Like, because these things structures should be up for like a year, right? Like, come on, motherfuckers. Like, it's gonna pay.
I thought the whole point was to get ships in space, and I thought that's what this was doing, because you could yeet into any system in nullsec and within a couple systems find a place to rob. And now what they're doing is taking that. So now, I didn't do all the math, but someone else smarter than me did, because there's 2,700 systems that you can have these skyhooks in. And if one is
how many?
Hour, 2,700?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a lot of nullsec. And with the time frame that they can be in, it's a 1.4% chance if you yeet into a system that has one. So you're like,
you can't yeet into it purely.
No, it's like, so let's even call it a 2% chance. That's 1 in 50 systems I'm gonna have to go through, which is the whole reason I got out of nullsec in the first place. I got sick and tired of getting into a small gang fleet and jumping gate to gate to gate to gate for no content whatsoever. And that's why I got into faction warfare. There's content right out my door. I can't undock from Hades right now without getting in a fight.
Yeah. Right now it's a murder fest.
It's just there. You want content? Undock your ship. So I don't understand this mechanic. And CCP Kestrel was trying to say that no, it's a good thing, but I just couldn't buy it. Like, I could not hear what he was saying and being like, it just did not sound right to me. I thought it was a 3-hour window or a 6-hour window. Okay, give me 6 hours to, that would at least.
I would argue 12 is much better. Like a 12-hour, like even.
I had a 50-50 chance of eating into a system that had them.
Right.
Even a 1 in 4. I would take 1 in 4 over.
I don't know. Getting people 2%. This is definitely going to stop the small group doing this for sure, and it reserves it for big giant super entities who can drop thousands of fucking dreadnoughts on top of something. I don't know. That's my number one immediate kind of like my go-to thing of like, what the fuck do we need to do for 0.0? We need to fix this fucking skyhook shit and bring back good rating. Let's do it. Other than that though, so 0.0, my ideas for 0.0 is more about getting their titans and super carriers, dreadnoughts, and carriers into outer space. You need to provide content that is available for these ships that can make some money, but is also extremely dangerous. And it shouldn't be just something that, just because you're underneath like a super umbrella, you're completely safe from doing this. Like putting the Titan out into a spot that prevents it from warping for like 5 minutes or something like that, where like this is where it can generate big ass, like, you know, like 100 dreadnoughts dropping out of fucking nowhere, and having that's, you know, it needs massive amount of coordination and time and effort on the attacker's part to set up the right trap for it. But we just need to get these behemoths in outer space and in vulnerable spaces. And the thing that I kind of go back to is the old Roycule era may have been really bad for the economy to a certain extent. Of the prosperity was too much and too good. I didn't see it that way to a certain degree. Like, I liked prices being low and that, you know, massive amount of materials being out there. And the big thing that I liked about it is that there was a bunch of Roycules getting blown up all the fucking time, because they had to be in outer space. Like, their drones were getting, you know, people were figuring out ways to grab the drones and steal them and break them and blow them up and do all this stuff. You know, I have to say for sure that, you know, that there was a lot of hunting of these, like, that was something that was huge. It was all about, like, oh, there's these giant whales in outer space. Let's go find them, kill them. And yeah, they're pulling in a bunch of money and they can easily replace them. But that's okay too, because that just means more dumb people in big shiny shit. We need more dumb people in bigger, shinier shit. That's what I say. Because the more that you have that, the more that bigger, shinier shit gets blown up. And I am not a big proponent of scarcity in any way, shape, or form. I don't think scarcity is good for this game. I don't think making things like the primary ships that people use to fight each other in an unaffordable cost doesn't make the game fun.
Yeah.
Like, you
But
do,
again,
I do like that
problem.
that hurt, you know, when I lose a ship, I like feeling like I lost something. But if you outprice me from most of the ships and only the most rich and powerful people in the galaxy get to play with those type of things, and they get to do it in complete and utter safety, and it's kind of shit what they get to kind of do with them. First of all, why even do I want to have a super carrier? You know, because it doesn't do anything for me. I absolutely don't want a super carrier right now. Why isn't there something in the game that but like lures me into wanting to have a super carrier in this game? And then once it's something that I want to have and I have to use, and it's I want to use and it's dangerous to put this thing out there, the more likely that I am going to lose it. If we have a bunch of people running around in shiny shit, then it's gonna get blown up. I don't think that I don't think it's good for the game to make it so that only a small percentage of people get to play with some of the most useful and awesome ships to fight with in this game. I do think that there needs to be a feeling of loss, and I do think that there needs to be a design that needs to go into ensuring that, you know, that not everybody is just flying around with Titans all the time. Like, that's not a fun game, you know, where everybody.
Yeah, I
just
think
in a
that was
Titan,
the big their big push is that they were like, they didn't want everybody to have the Titan. They wanted it to be a rarity, and I think that
can't spin out of the gate bag since they fucking released that shit.
Yeah, right. You had people that, you know, that was their thing. It says, I'm a Titan pilot, and now you're taking that away from me. And so, I don't know. I was hoping this whole Skyhook thing would, in the way they're doing Sav, would push conflict and make it so, you know, the Frats and the Goons are going to have to fight. You know, they're going to have to fight for space, and when they do that, well, then you're going to have to undock a Titan sooner or later. So, you know, maybe it will get to that. Maybe that's what CCP's plan is. But I think a lot of people are having trouble seeing that right now, or seeing that far ahead. I know I am.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know the
I can see that
solution
roadmap
to getting people to fight each other. if it's better to work together, and it's I mean, one of the things that I think prosperity will make each other fight each other more than scarcity, because scarcity makes it so that it's, you know, why risk your Titan? You know, it's
I
too,
can't replace it. Yeah,
I can't replace it.
that's
It's
the
not
first
worth
rule.
it. You know,
That's
it's
the number one rule in Eve. Don't fly what you can't lose. You know,
right.
and if I fly my Titan and I destroy it, I cannot replace it. I don't have the resources to do it.
Well, and it's also 10 times more expensive than it was
Yeah.
when I first got it. Like, that's just crazy. I know it's an exaggeration on 10 times, but it's the Titans are way more expensive now. Only the people who got them originally are the, like, that's not a good mechanic. That's not a good game design, is to be like, oh, all the people who originally got them for super cheap is the ones that are the only ones that get them now. Like, it's the same with, like, houses in the real world. Like, come on, motherfuckers. Just because you got it a long time ago doesn't mean that none of us get anything now. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah, it's a balancing act. I get it, but and again, like I said, I'm just having trouble seeing the roadmap of how they get back to that without alienating or getting away from, you know, a large portion of their player base. As you know, Ariel says, you know, the price cost would be nice if it was back down to $9 a month. And again, I would have more characters if it was. You know, that's all they did when they raised that price hike, is made it so instead of having 5 characters, well, now I'm only having 4 because I can't afford that. But if they lowered the price, I would have started up more. So again, I'm not an economist, and assuming CCP has one on staff, but I'd be curious to see how those numbers would crunch.
Well, and I agree with Mortal too. I would definitely take a Titan gift any day as well.
Yeah. I don't know if and again, as a faction warfare Lowsec pilot, I don't know that I would ever undock it, or well, I guess you wouldn't dock it, but I would never. I don't know what to do with it. I wouldn't know what to, you know, because the only people in Lowsec that have are Snuff, and that's a whole different problem.
Yeah, because you can only dock it in what, a keep star? Yeah.
You can put it in a pass, but you have to log off.
But coffin.
Yeah, but I don't know. Again, I don't have need for one, just like a carrier. Maybe I'll have a carrier someday. I don't know. I don't see the need for it yet. I would rather have a fleet full of battleships, because I know I'll use those.
Right, yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty much like the same. I mean, I have used a carrier, and I have used a, well, I haven't used a dread, but I have a dread. And I haven't, it's not even fit. Like, I'm never going to use it for anything. I bought it a long time ago. It's just a rev, and but my Armageddon and my Abaddon and my Vargar, hell yeah, I'm using that shit.
So Galactica says, will you advocate for bumping Cybella? Cybelli?
Buffing is it buffing this? Maybe it's a Cinnable? I don't know. Typos, people.
I don't know what that means.
Might be a Cinnable. I'm gonna go with Cinnable.
Well, no, because you would type Cinnabon if just type
Damn you,
Cinnabon.
Yeah, if it's Cinnable, I'm okay with that. Yeah, not something.
Yeah, because I haven't
really
seen that ship in a while.
But
no, I haven't seen the Cinnable for a while, so nobody cares about it anymore. Same thing with the Führer.
Since they changed the mechanics for faction warfare, and you just don't see the pirate ships like you did before, even with the Incurgency that they're doing now. Still not. So it's just, again, I think it's one of those things. Is it cost effective? Oh. No, he's sticking with Sabella.
So Sabella, I think that's an AT tournament ship, if I remember correctly.
Oh, who cares about the AT tournament ships? Nobody cares about the AT tournament ships. No, get off. No, fuck off. Nobody cares about. That's like, would 2 people fly them? Like, you're like, no, nobody cares about that. But what is if it's an AT ship? Yeah, nobody gives a crap about that.
I say buff it. Do it.
Yeah, buff it. Yeah, do it. I don't
Go ahead.
care.
Buff the hell out of it.
Buff it to make it a cockroach or roach or whatever. Make it invincible.
The golden ammo. Yeah.
Yeah, make it the golden gun.
Well, I have heard that it's not on par with the other. And this is the ship that I'm thinking of. This is the Cinnable, or the not Cinnable.
See, this fucking nerd, he knows things, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, he even knows about the tournament, the AT ships that nobody cares about, right? So
No.
except for the guy in chat.
I can read Reddit.
If I had one, I'd sell it. That's all I can tell you about the symbol.
It depends on
Yes.
why I had it. If I came across it like I stole it or found it, then yeah, I'd sell it. But if I earned it, then I'd probably keep it. That's never gonna happen. But
He does say that the Cinnable needs a buff. I agree.
yeah, the Orthrus, you barely even see the Orthrus anymore as well, but it does exist at least. The Cinnable doesn't really exist much anymore. I only recall one dude that used to fly it all the time in Black Rise, and I don't even see him fly it no more. The Cinnabon, I mean.
Cinnabon.
Well, Frozen's eating dinner, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I'm
If
getting
we
Where
are
are
allowed
they?
to eat
Kinda
dinner.
Where the hot wings show up?
Yeah.
See, the
All
problem
right.
is I have to make dinner if I eat it.
All right, so just kind of going back, I guess, to wrap it up. So, giving you back your platform. So, what are your core issues that you would like CCP needs to focus on?
So, I'll run through these fairly quickly here. I have 3 fundamental, core principles that I have that I want to bring to my if I'm on CSM. These are the things that you know for sure I'm going to be passionate about. This is what I care about. This is what I want CCP to. I'm gonna try and bring these things, put a spotlight on these things, and that's 1. We need reasons to undock. Throw in we've already talked about it, the skyhooks into that. We need to have, we talked about making Lowsec better. I think there needs to be content for supers and for titans and stuff like that. More dread content, more stuff for people to do in outer space with their ships and put them at fucking risk and make that risk worth it. Don't make it too worth it. If it's super safe to do something, it shouldn't be. If it's not going to generate a kill mail, or it's more than likely not going to generate a kill mail for the average person that'll be doing that content, it doesn't matter that that some random person that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing comes in and can't do the content because they don't know what the fuck they're doing, or even if they do know what they're doing, they don't have the 15 buddies that it takes in order to do it. But if there's 15 dudes that are in Ishtars all day long just running the same content over and over again, uncontested, and 99% of the time it doesn't generate a kill mail, that's easy content then. Even now, there is a certain level of how much preparation and effort does it take to get to that level of easy, and I'll give you that. High sec, very little preparation to get to that level of security, right? In 0.0, it does take an entire alliance with an IT backbone and intel channels and people that are working towards and communicating with each other, and an entire fleet of supers that are on standby. That's a lot of stuff to make it safe. It's still safe. That's the thing, is so you need to balance that with things that will generate kill mails and are extremely dangerous and are not controllable, are not things that you can just sit a bunch of stuff. High sec ain't safe completely either, but neither is 0.0. I'm saying 0.0 is just as safe as high sec. High sec is just as safe, once again, then, as 0.0.
It depends on who you are, because if you're in your blue donut, it's probably safer than high sec.
It depends on
what you're doing.
It's easier to be
flying.
dumb in 0.0 than it is to be dumb in high sec, I think. Dumb and high sec is just all about having a really blingy, carrying around too much money. It's an easy thing to do, but in nullsec, and it's the false sense of security. In nullsec, it's all about if you know what you're doing, you're completely safe. Like it's you've got on standby a bunch of people who come in and save your ass. But I would say, I would kind of put nullsec and 0.0 together on the danger
Those are the same
scale.
thing.
But I would say
You
that
said nullsec and
0.0. Oh, sorry, nullsec and high sec. Nullsec and high sec are on the kind of the same level of dangerous in my mindset. If you're part of a 0.0 organization that owns that space, and if you're not a pirate in high sec. It's kind of the same idea as if you're not, then yes, it's extremely dangerous for me to go to high sec, and it's extremely dangerous for me to go to 0.0 because I don't have affiliation with any of these organizations. So those are dangerous tasks. But for the people who live out, and that doesn't mean that we should make 0.0 really profitable or like really crazy profitable and or because it's super dangerous for people who just randomly show up. That's the random show upper doesn't fucking equate into the equation. The people who own the space, how dangerous is it for them to do what they're doing? And now you can put a price on that. That makes it worth it. And then you look at Lowsec. Lowsec doesn't have any way of forcing. You can't own the space. You can't kick people out. You can't put up bubbles. You can't really stop people from moving around and doing stuff and moving into and living in some place in Lowsec. That obviously, like, so many reasons why 0.0 you can stop them from doing that type of shit. And so Lowsec needs to be, a place of prosperity. We need to look at this, and make sure we understand risk to reward, and make sure that we buff Lowsec as much as possible. So that's a lot of stuff that I bring into this, pillar that I call reasons to undock. My second pillar is a strong community. And this kind of goes into just, I think that CCP should have more in-game tools, should put more spotlights, should, focus, make sure that people know about NPSI in this game. So that they know that there's not purple, not inside your fleet, not purple, shoot it. So if it's not on your side, just shoot it. And they gather up tons of neutrals, people who would have ever worked together before, just to come together and start shooting people. There needs to be spotlights on that. There's the frigate brawl that goes on every year. Like, there needs to be in game. There needs to be shit like telling us that this stuff is going on. Not just out of game, but also
the
in
FFA
game.
has that, but
a little bit.
They get advertisements, yeah, but not like mechanics, but they do have like.
Well, mechanically, I don't think that the only thing that I would say that would be a nice, not mechanic per se, but a feature would be like a window that let you look at community activities. What streamers are out there? What NPSI activities are going on out there? What community, open community events are going on, and when are they scheduled for? When are there, live meetups with people, and where are they going? Where is it going to be, and when? All this should be something that I should be able to go in game and have all of that stuff available to me in a tab.
Yeah, it would be pretty sick to have more of my designs in the game, I gotta say.
Yeah, that too. I agree with that.
Well, even access to it, like
what that flyer.
If it weren't for Innominate inviting me to the Summer Swarm, I would have known anything about it. I wouldn't know how to find local people, because I was looking. Like, how do I find people local to me that play this game that I enjoy? And it is very hard to do. And it shouldn't be. It should be easier than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I think that there's just a lot of stuff that they could do to help bring a spotlight to because that's the lifeblood of EVE is communities. EVE does an interesting job, I think, of creating communities, and have like Corpse and EVE, I think, are better than guilds in World of Warcraft. that just the nature of the game itself and stuff like that, the communities that we build, the reason why we play a lot of the reasons why people play EVE Online is purely because of the community. I've had many people that I've talked to at FanFest that are like, I haven't played EVE in 6 years, but I come to FanFest every single year. Like, so CCP needs to look at community outreach, community, interaction, and community spotlighting, and providing tools in game for the community. And the last pillar that I have is, of course, the new player experience. It's gotten way better. It needs to get way, way, way better. We need to have a lot more of tutorials on how to use descanning for PvP and PvE, how to use, all the different types of things inside of faction warfare. There should be a whole thing of faction warfare tutorials that teach you how to plex, how to use what to do in battlefields, what to do in insurgencies, what just in general, all of this different kind of stuff that we can build really awesome tutorials for. And then also make, some minor tweaks to faction warfare in order to make it better for new players. The big one, of course, that's not necessarily a tweak, but it's not necessarily also restricted to faction warfare, is, the loyalty point store. And we talked about how that needs a major revamp. The other thing is that I think this almost goes with community too, but EVE needs to cultivate the idea of build your own story. Maybe even having an in-game thing that kind of records all the things that you've done inside of this game. Maybe that even works with ChatGPT or something, that you can just feed this whole bunch of random crap that it records on what you did in EVE, just makes a notation of it, and you can feed it in and get a whole story about what activities you did in EVE Online, the fights that you got in, the deaths that happened, all that type of stuff. But the big one for me that I think is more realistic, although still a huge endeavor, is the new player experience right now puts you into this kind of epic story that you're this pod pilot who, made it out of the Astor house in the very beginning, when it was getting blown up, and there's some kind of epic story that you're going on right now. And it's no, that's not EVE. You are not a hero. You are not the main character. You are not an important person in any way, shape, or form when you make a fucking character in EVE. You are just like everybody, all the other immortal pod pilots that are in EVE Online. And you're going to have to make your story and make your grand...
you got to make a name for yourself.
Right, you got to do things on your own and stuff like that. Your introduction to EVE should be the standard, this is, what everybody else gets. Everybody gets this introduction and tutorial into EVE. And there's maybe a few, storyline stuff that kind of goes on, that there's a little bit of a story, that should just be updated as time goes on, that is not something that is just the story you get at that time, and maybe every 6 months it gets a little bit of a change to it, something like that. But EVE is about our own stories. It's not about some crazy NPC storyline that we get fed to us like almost every other MMORPG that exists out there. There are world events and crazy things that are happening in EVE, but they're we don't all go find a final boss and kill it in World of Warcraft and all these, there's all these dungeons, these final dungeons that you need to go do, raids or whatever, and we don't. That's not EVE. We're not trying to learn. Final Fantasy Online is really cool. I really like it. It's got an epic story. It's a lot of fun, and it's all about playing it for that story and then grinding dungeons all day long. EVE Online is not that game in any way, shape, or form. EVE Online is about building your own story and being part of a living universe that has one single story that we all share. That no other game that I can think of truthfully even comes close to providing. And so the new player experience needs to really hone in on that shit. Fuck cool ass epic story blowing up the Astor House as soon as they come out. Like, no, just put them in a training session with 3 other newbies. In fact, actually, everybody who starts the game, if you start the game at the same time as somebody else, you should be put into a fucking classroom with them. And it's like, oh, these are the 3 new recruits that came. Like, you all signed up at the same time, so we're gonna take you through all of this at the same time. Maybe you'll become friends with each other after this. Maybe you'll become enemies. Who gives a fuck? Go find your story. Like, I don't think that it needs to drop you in the middle of space and not tell you what to do. I think there needs to be a tell you what to do phase, but the tell you what to do phase shouldn't be you're part of some epic story that's going on. You're gonna fight the drifters. Because it just makes people go, oh, there's some drifters, I'm going to start shooting them. Oh no, all of a sudden, there's some bad things that just happened. Which they have you shoot one of the things that you shouldn't shoot. I can't even remember what the fuck they're called. But the ships you shouldn't shoot are one of the first things that they have you shoot in the game. Yeah, the Lancers or whatever. That go around and scan shit. Like, why do you have them shooting that? The first thing that should happen is that they're like, oh, there's a bunch of Lancers outside. Why don't you go shoot them and see what happens? And the first thing that you do is you go shoot some Lancers and just a fucking crazy fleet of bad shit shows up and murders your ass. And you're just like, oh, that's what happens when I shoot Lancers. Like, that's how they should be teaching you this game. Like, I'm a big advocate of tutorials in the game. Like, the game should be like, yeah, go to a Plex. Your objective is to do plexes until you get shot and killed by another player. Now, you can game the system if you want because you're not a newbie and you're like, oh, I'm just going to finish this by just sending my ult to go do this. But, like, a newbie coming into the game should be like, oh, I have to go find somebody to murder me. And the only place that I can, validly get murders is inside these plexes. I'm just going to go plex until I die then. And that's what this game is about, Like, I wonder what story ChatGPT would create for high-sec mission runners. Apparently, this guy seems to save damsels in distress almost every day, and there seems to always be a conflict between these two. The angels and the serpentis are always shooting each other for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, so those are my 3 pillars. New player experience, a strong community, and reasons to fucking undock. And not just like undock anything. We're talking about a real undocking of all different types of ships. There should be there should be a reason why there should be shit for T3s to go do that's built for T3s. There should be shit for super carriers to do that are built for the super carriers. There should be a bunch of content out there to get us to go into outer space, and not just outer space, dangerous outer space.
Well said.
Very well said. I agree.
Damn straight you agree. I'm a goddamn CEO. If you don't agree with me, you can get the fuck out.
I don't need this bullshit. Alright, so to wrap this up, is there anything else that you would like to discuss or think people out there should know about you running for CSM?
I will always be relaxed and calm. I will never freak out or become too passionate about any fucking thing that I do. I will always be level-headed. I will never show
some wine.
Oh shit!
Enough wine.
Am I yelling?
Enough.
No.
You wine them up.
No.
Wine
so, I just have a lot of passion for this game. For the most part, I am pretty chill. Like, I just don't, it's not like I'm gonna be screaming armor hack at somebody for fucking up in EVE Online. Most of the time, when people fuck up in EVE, I'm just like, or I fuck up, I'm just like, I fucked up.
Because most of the time
you fucked up. Oh, I killed the entire fleet. Whatever.
It happens.
And but sometimes I get really passionate about things that I am very passionate about, and and I will always try to keep an open mind, but I will not abide bullshittery when it comes to what I am passionate about, and I will always put out a voice out there if it's stuff that I feel is going to fuck with and destroy and hurt people that are new to the game, or to people that are just the lower class citizens, the Lowsec citizens of EVE Online need to have a champion to their voices, and if it's gonna fuck with them, I'm gonna say something, and as an example, the Skyhooks, you've gone too far. You are fucking very hard with the low class citizens of EVE Online by what you did with this change, and that sucks. Let us get our GTA back.
Here, here.
Yay.
Oh, we got a battle royale request too. All right, so yeah, so that's other than that, I just want to thank Nightflyer a lot for picking this up here and hosting the show for me while I take a vacation and become a guest for an episode here. And all the support that Nightflyer and Samson have given me is the only if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be running. Truthfully, for CSM, it would just feel overwhelming.
Took a lot of convincing. Way to twist his arm.
Yeah, they give me a swirly, man. It was bad.
Yeah.
Like, do you want another one? I was like, no, what do I need to do? I don't even know what's going on. You just woke me up in the middle of the night and just shoved my head in the toilet.
The way we roll.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for coming on. And yeah, have a great night, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, New Eden.